Welcome back to the deep dive. So, in our last sessions, we really got into Paramahansa Yogananda's spiritual journey in India.
Right. His time with Sri Yukteswar, that whole deep dive into Kriya Yoga, it was foundational, wasn't it?
Absolutely foundational. We saw that intense seeking, the guru-disciple connection, the power of Kriya.
Yeah. And just to bring everyone up to speed quickly, Kriya Yoga itself is this specific, set of techniques really aimed at speeding up spiritual growth. That background is key for what comes next.
Exactly. Because today we're following Yogananda as he, well, steps onto a totally new stage, America.
A huge shift.
Huge. We're going to look at those first moments, the challenges he faced right off the bat, and how he started becoming this bridge between Eastern and Western spiritual ideas.
It's a fascinating transition. How do you take that ancient wisdom and plant it in such different soil?
That's the core question, isn't it? So if you're looking for a quick but thorough understanding of this period, maybe some different angles and those aha moments,
Yeah.
well, you're in the right place.
We're really zoning in on how he managed it. Those specific moments that show this fusion happening, the early impact.
And our main window into this is Yogananda himself. We're pulling directly from his Autobiography of a Yogi.
Yeah, specifically those chapters covering the journey over and his first impressions, his initial experiences in the West. It's his perspective.
Okay, let's jump in. His departure from India itself, August 1920, that's significant.
It really is. The ship was the city of Sparta. And get this, it was the first passenger ship going to America after World War I ended.
Wow. Just think about that timing. The world's just breathing after this massive conflict.
Right.
And here comes Yogananda on one of the very first ships, carrying this message of, well, inner peace. It kind of sets a dramatic scene, doesn't it?
It really does. A world-changing. And him embarking on this totally unknown personal journey.
And it wasn't smooth sailing, just getting on the boat, apparently.
No, not at all. He talks about considerable red tape, bureaucracy, just trying to get his passport sorted.
He even called it fairly miraculous when it finally came through.
Which makes you wonder, doesn't it? Was it just luck or something else clearing the path? Destiny, perhaps.
Yeah, it adds this layer of intrigue. Like, his arrival wasn't just random chance. There was some momentum behind it.
It is that way.
So he lands America. What hits him first? What are those immediate feelings?
Well, in the autobiography, he describes this really stark contrast. He immediately felt this materialistic Western atmosphere, so different from the spiritual feeling he associated with India.
You can almost picture it. The difference in energy, maybe the noise, the focus.
Exactly. From a place where spirituality is sort of woven into daily life to the West, which was, very much focused on industry, outward progress at that time.
It's been quite a culture shock.
A huge adjustment. And the immediate question becomes, how do you introduce something so internal, so spiritually focused into that kind of environment?
His first attempts must have been really telling, like that first yoga class he gave in Washington, D.C.
Oh, that's a key moment. He actually talks about being hit with really intense stage fright.
Really? You wouldn't expect that somehow.
Standing there, new country, totally unfamiliar audience. It sounds overwhelming. He describes saying this silent prayer to his guru, Sri Yukteswar, asking for help.
And he felt an answer, didn't he? Something immediate.
Yes. He recounts hearing this inner voice, clear as anything, saying, "You can speak."
Wow.
And suddenly, the words just started flowing. And, importantly, flowing in English. Effortlessly, he said.
That's incredible. It's like this blend of his own faith, his connection to his guru, and maybe some hidden ability just surfacing.
It seems like it, and the proof is in the pudding, right? The audience was apparently captivated for 45 minutes straight.
And that led to more invitations.
Immediately. It shows he connected right from the start, despite the strangeness, despite the cultural gap. His message, his presence, it resonated.
It suggests this ability to connect beyond just words, doesn't it? And it wasn't only about, like, the postures or breathing, was it? He gave a philosophical talk, too, early on.
He did. It was called The Science of Religion.
The Science of Religion. Interesting title.
And the core idea was the universality of religion, that deep down beneath all the different rituals and dogmas, there are common universal truths.
Ah, so he wasn't presenting it as my way versus your way.
Not at all. It was about finding the shared foundation,
Yeah.
highlighting what connect the different spiritual paths. A really smart way to build a bridge,
Absolutely. Emphasizing unity from day one. That seems crucial for his whole mission, looking back.
It does. Inclusion, understanding, not division, finding those common threads in how humans seek the divine.
But we should also remember it wasn't like instant fame and fortune right after that Congress.
That's a really important point. The autobiography mentions about 4 years after that, living in pretty humbly, quieter circumstances.
Right, it wasn't an overnight success story in that sense.
No, and those years were probably crucial. Time to really understand the American mindset, maybe refine how he presented the teachings, build those first real connections. It takes time to build something lasting.
Laying the groundwork. Which leads us to the next phase, where things start to become more, well, established. That meeting with Luther Burbank sounds fascinating.
It really does. Burbank, the famous plant guy, the horticulturist.
In Santa Rosa, California.
Right. And what's amazing is how their ideas clicked, even coming from totally different worlds. Burbank saw humanity itself as like one vast plant,
I love that analogy.
needing love, needing intelligent care to, reach its full potential.
Which just fits perfectly with Yogananda's message about spiritual growth, awakening potential within people.
Exactly. Like humans need spiritual nurturing, just like plants need sun and water.
Yeah.
There's even that picture of them together in Burbank's garden.
Yeah, I've seen that.
It really captures that shared feeling, doesn't it? Nurturing life, inner and outer.
Then came a really major step, founding the Self-Realization Fellowship, SR.
Yes, March 1935. Officially set up as a nonprofit, an educational institution in California.
And this wasn't just about him, right? It was meant to last.
Precisely. It was structured so public donations, money from his books and classes, it all went back into the fellowship. Its purpose was to keep disseminating the teachings.
So it institutionalized everything, gave it a structure to survive and grow beyond his personal presence.
A very forward-thinking move.
Yeah.
And part of that was establishing physical places, too. The Encinitas Hermitage is a big one.
He called it a welcome home gift, didn't he? And described it like a great white ocean liner looking over the Pacific. Sounds stunning.
It does. 16 big rooms, beautifully done up, a central hall with this amazing ocean view. The photos really show its presence.
You can see why it would be an inspiring place, a real sanctuary.
It became a physical anchor, a place for his community to gather, for the work to deepen.
And wasn't it there in Encinitas that he finished his book, Cosmic Chants?
That's right, which is another perfect example of this east-west bridging he was doing.
How so?
Well, he took these ancient Indian chants, these melodies, plus some he wrote himself, and put them into English words using Western musical notation. So people in the West could actually sing them, understand them, feel them.
Making them accessible.
Totally accessible. Things like No Birth, No Death, or Wake, Yet Wake, O My Saint, even the Hymn to Brahma. It brought the feeling of Eastern spirituality into a Western form.
It's more than just intellectual understanding then, it's reaching people emotionally through the music. Very clever.
Very effective. And remember the context of the times. This bridging work wasn't happening in some peaceful bubble.
No, the world was tense. He talked about the approaching carnage, the frightful drums of war.
Exactly. But he noticed that amid all that fear and uncertainty, people in America were searching. Really searching their hearts for something lasting, some eternal anchorage, as he put it.
So paradoxically, the global chaos might have actually made people more receptive to his message.
It seems that way. When the external world feels shaky, people often turn inward, looking for deeper meaning, for stability. His teachings offered a path to find that within.
And Kriya Yoga was right at the center of that path he offered.
Absolutely. He had plans to open a specific yoga institute to really promote Kriya Yoga as a, quote, definite scientific technique of self-realization.
That word scientific is interesting again.
I think it was key for the Western audience, framing it not just as faith, but as a practical method, a system for overcoming suffering and finding liberation, something you could do and see results from.
Like a science of the inner world.
And his bridging efforts went beyond just spiritual philosophy too, right? He got involved in social issues.
He did. For instance, in 1945, he took part in an interracial meeting in San Francisco. This was during the peace conference after the war.
That's significant.
It really shows his message of unity wasn't just theoretical. It extended to social harmony, understanding between different groups of people.
It underlines that interconnectedness theme again. Yeah. And he even had ideas about whole communities based on these principles.
Yeah, he discussed with the first Kriya Yogi in America the need for, like, world colonies, communities founded on a spiritual basis. Wow, that's a big vision.
It is. It suggests that real change, lasting peace, starts with individuals transforming inwardly, but can then extend outwards to create society differently, rooted in inner work.
So, bringing this all together as we wrap up, what are the main takeaways from this early American chapter?
Well, first, just his incredible resilience, wouldn't you say?
Mm.
Facing the culture shock, the early struggles, but managing to plant these seeds and establish a real lasting presence.
Definitely. Those early lectures, founding SRF, getting centers like Encinitas up and running, those were huge steps.
And we really see the art of spiritual fusion in action. How he skillfully translated ancient ideas using language, music, always focusing on those universal truths that could resonate in the West.
It wasn't just translating words, it was translating experience, wasn't it? And navigating his own identity in this new world.
Exactly. It highlights the challenges, but also the immense rewards of carrying wisdom across cultures. It required real sensitivity and insight.
Which leaves us with something to think about. Today, our world is more connected than ever, right? So what are the bridges being built now between different cultures, different spiritual paths?
Good question.
And maybe more personally, what role does our own exploration, our own understanding play in building empathy and finding peace across those divides? Does Yogananda's journey from nearly a century ago still speak to how we navigate East and West, spirituality and modern life today? Something to ponder.